What's up guys, it's Matt from TDM Style here and welcome back to the channel. Now, on this channel, we talk an awful lot about hairstyling products and things that you're gonna be using on your hair once your base style is already in place. But as we all know, finishing products can only do so much for you, and if you don't have that style in place from the beginning, they aren't really gonna help so much. And it has also been a minute since I've done a tutorial on this channel, so today we're gonna be taking a look at some blow drying techniques that I've been using to smooth out my hair and create big, weightless volume. All right, now if we forget about pre-styling products and all of that stuff for just a minute, there are two main tools that we're gonna be using for this video today. The first thing you're gonna need is a thermal round brush. Now, I have a 2.5 inch brush here, which is just about the right size for my length of hair, but if you've got shorter hair, you can get a smaller diameter brush. And the main thing that you're gonna be using this for is to apply tension to the hair so that as you're drying it, you're gonna be smoothing that hair out, and it's also gonna help you to control the shape of your hair so that you can get it to lay where you want it. And with the ceramic thermal core, this brush is actually going to heat up as you're blow drying, and it's gonna hold that heat, which is gonna make it a lot easier to get that hair malleable and lock that style into place. And our second tool, of course, is the hair dryer. And the main thing I wanna talk about today, guys, is that we're using high heat. Now, I feel like there is a major misconception out there in the men's hair community on YouTube that like you should never use high heat because it's gonna break your hair off and it's gonna burn and whatever, and you have to use crazy heat protectants and stuff and use low heat to dry your hair. I don't agree with that. If you have ever had your hair styled in a salon, they always use high heat. And while, yes, usually they'll use some products in there and things, heat protectants are always nice, but the fact is that they're not totally necessary. And unless you're holding that hairdryer in one spot for 5 minutes, you really have very little risk of damaging your hair. Plus, the high heat is what you're really going to need to get those hair molecules malleable so you can get that style into shape, build that volume, because if you use cold air, it's really only good for smoothing out the hair and reducing some frizziness, and that's actually going to give you a lower volume and a flatter laying hairstyle. So, with that being said, I am going to use cold air at the very end just to close up the cuticle and lock the style into place, but for the majority of this tutorial, we are using high heat. All right, so with all that out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hair, and then I'll be right back for this tutorial. All right, guys, so once you're ready with clean, damp hair, it's time to go in with any pre-styling products that you decide to use. I do recommend using something as a pre-styler, like 25 by the Salon Guy, or smoothing lotion by Moroccan Oil, or even like Amika makes some really nice blow drying sprays. And basically what this is gonna do for you is act as a detangler, an anti-frizz type of solution, and essentially it's just gonna make the whole styling process easier so that your hair comes out nice and smooth. Now, if you want to add some additional hold during the pre-styling process, I recommend using something like a mousse, just because that's going to be the most lightweight option that's still going to add some hold. So today I'm going in with a little bit of pre-style by the Salon Guy, and I'm just using really like a half a pump. I mean, just the tiniest bit. Once you've got your pre-styler in your hair, I do like to just go through quickly with a comb to not only make sure that everything is evenly saturated, but also just to make sure that you've gotten through any last tangles or knots. Now it's time to switch on the blow dryer, and the first thing that is super important here is to just use your fingers at first. Do not go in with the brush right away. Basically, you want to get your hair to the point where it's about 80% dry before you go in with a styling brush. And this does a couple of things. If you try to use the brush right away and your hair is too wet, any styling that you're doing is really just not going to hold. Your hair really needs to be almost totally dry in order for that heat and the styling brush to make those molecular bonds malleable so that they actually stay where you put them. And also, technically, your hair is at its most fragile state when it's wet, so if you're tugging and pulling at it with a brush, that just makes you more prone to any possible damage. So I just like to go through with my fingers for a few minutes, and you can just kind of hold your hair up straight and blow dry from the root to the tip as you're getting it dry, and that will just help build in a little bit of volume before you go in with the brush. Once everything is mostly dry, now it's time to grab that round brush and start styling. Now the key here is to work in small sections, so I like to push all of my hair in one direction, so I like to start at this kind of back corner. That's my like one trouble area. So at first, I'll brush all my hair over to the right side just so it's easier for me to get at that back corner and to actually see what I'm doing. Now, as you're styling with the brush, the main thing that is going to help you build in the volume is the angle at which you're holding your hair up from your head. Essentially, you want to follow the shape of your head and pull your hair up at least 90 degrees so it's perpendicular with your head, or even a little bit beyond that so you're like, past that 90-degree point. So for those of us who are pushing our hair back, that means styling it basically straight up in the air and also even a little bit forward towards your forehead so that when you push it backward, it's going to have a lot of volume. So from here on out, I'm basically going to take small sections of hair. The main thing is if you take too much hair on that brush, it's just going to take longer and longer to get there, so it's easier and it'll actually end up saving you time in the long run if you do small sections at a time. So as you take each section of hair, you just want to apply some tension by rotating that brush backward and just follow right along with the condenser nozzle of your blow dryer. And I like to go slow here because, of course, you can go faster if you're a little more experienced, but I find the slower that I go, the more smooth my hair becomes, and it just tends to hold its shape better. Now, I also want my hair to be going from the left to the right side a little bit, so when I get to this right side of my head where I have some cowlicks and other things, I'm applying tension and doing the same technique, but I'm also moving the hair towards the direction that I want it to lay. And mostly that just really helps me straighten out any kinky areas around those cowlicks. Once everything is looking basically done, I do like to run through my hair with my fingers again, just to basically check if there are any areas that are still damp or need any more work. Once I'm happy with the overall style, now I'm going to switch to the cold air setting, just so that I can close up my cuticles and really lock that style into place. And if you have any areas that are still looking a little bit frizzy, you can grab your round brush again and go over it a few more times with the cold air, and that will just help to smooth everything out even more. Alright guys, so now you can see my hair is just very light, it's bouncy, and it's got all this volume in here. So now is the perfect time to go in with your favorite post styler. Now, if you want to go with something that's really light and it's going to keep your hair just looking very movable and bouncy, but it's still going to kind of lock that style in, you can actually just finish with just a hairspray. Lately, I've been using this KMS anti-humidity seal. It's pretty decent. It's a little pricey, but it's okay. Or if you want to really lock that style in for the day, I mean, like I normally do, I go for a clay, so I'm going to put in a little bit of Clutch by the Salon Guy. Now, since I'm rocking this kind of asymmetrical undercut right now, I have been liking to kind of push everything over to one side a little bit instead of going straight back. So I think that's looking pretty good for me, so I'm just going to finish it up, lock it in with a little hairspray. So there you go, guys, my blow drying techniques for some high volume hairstyling. I really hope that you guys like this. I had a really good time making it. It's been too long since I've done a tutorial, so I hope that you enjoyed it. Please stay tuned to the channel. I've got lots and lots more content coming up soon, so if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please do so to keep up with all of it. And as always, thank you guys so much for coming by and watching.